Hi, how's it going, everybody? Welcome. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone. Hopefully, by now, we understand that this kind of fun man made holiday of sorts um, is not just for the lovers, but of course, anybody that loves and has been loved. So that includes all of us, and big love to you guys as you catch this video. We are in our Sunday YIN program. We're going to get started in about 4 minutes. And I want to welcome you to grab 2 stacks or 2 blocks, props. You can use big rolled up towels, bath towels, that will work. I want to welcome you to get your playlist. Oh, I've got to grab mine. We do have a playlist today. Let me cut and paste the link into the chat. But you can also go to Spotify, guys, and my handle name is my friend Simone. You can grab that playlist. It's today's date, and it'll be the first up. Or you can check this link in the chat that I'm going to post right now. Hopefully Bella, the dog that some of you have come to know, will behave herself. She's downstairs. So if I have to go and grab her, that may be the case, but typically not. We'll see. It's just me without husband Paul today, so I may be double dutying it on the dog. Heads up. And if you've got what you need, you can certainly take a lie down at any point and just start to transition into what you need to offer yourself for your practice. This practice has typically got a lot of space with a lot of time in each pose, letting the pose kind of do the talking, as I like to say. So, if you're still struggling with how to approach yin because there's so much space or because it's so still, one of the things that I can just offer you is embrace that. Really understand the cliche saying, but in this case, it really does apply that less is more. Less is more, guys. I'm going to just pause the sound. Give me a sec and grab what I need music-wise. All right. Sound should be up and rocking. Hello, Mother. Happy Valentine's Day to you. Much love. You can just get the playlist ready, and then that way you can also get your devices ready nearby. You can lie down, figure out that you have everything ready to, in a way, hit play from where you are. We're going to get started with this Valentine's Day yin practice. This is one of my favorite series. There's really not a lot of movement per se. We'll be spending most of our time on our back body and really paying attention to the life of the spine and the torso and just all the ways in which we can open up and shift with these poses that I'll bring about today. It's one of my favorite series, and I hear that it's other people's favorite. So with love, I give it to you. Let's head down on our back body. Again, have your props nearby so that when you lie down, you can reach them with your hands. It's just always a really great practice to get into. And I'm going to count it down for that playlist in 5, 4, 3, 2, hit play. The first song up on this playlist is from the soundtrack from the movie If Beale Street Could Talk. It's a beautiful soundtrack, beautiful composition, and also a pretty beautiful movie. Bit of a love story as well. Good Valentine's Day movie. As we find our Shavasana, do the work of flipping your palms up. A little breathing space at the armpits. And take about 2 more breaths. And you might step your feet a little wider here. You can feel a gentle exhale as your back body feels a little heavier to the ground. And then I want you to bring your arms overhead. If you want to have a morning stretch, you could also do that. But then eventually just kind of bend in the arms. Bend in the arms enough that your shoulders relax, and make sure that you can feel relaxed through the elbows onto the ground. In my case, because I've got that sweet shoulder injury making me humble in my practice, I got to prop something underneath my arm so that I can rest my arms heavy towards the ground or onto a stack. All we're doing here is opening up the space of our upper chest. When you're propping things anywhere to meet your body, you can prop them as high or low as you need. As you feel the open space of your upper chest across your shoulders, across your collar space, you can take advantage of that space by breathing in a little more boldly. kind of breath you are looking for is the kind that invites an inhale to lift the belly and then the chest second to that. And then the exhale falls the belly and then the chest. As you rise the belly and chest to inhale, get to the top and hold your breath for the count of 5. Hold. 3, 2, and then 1. Exhale out the mouth. You're going to bring your arms alongside the body, slow and steady, palms face up for a beat. And then I want you to get up to a sit. And as you get up to a sit, you're going to put your stacks behind you for the position pose called open heart, sometimes known as fish pose. One of your stacks will go at the second highest height or the lowest height across horizontally where your shoulder blades would land. And then your second stack would go a little lower vertically where your head hopes to land. And as you slowly lie down and the first stack hits across your back body, it's just behind the heart, the whole of your chest. And then your head should be able to land on your other stack, kind of like a pillow. It may be the case that your head and your neck being open doesn't really like this, or your head can't really reach the stack. In that case, I want you to change the height on one of your stacks so that you're bringing your head closer to support. After you've found what you need in the way of supporting your torso and your head, bring the soles of the feet together by stepping them onto the mat and then widening the knees into Baddha Konasana so the soles of the feet can touch together like prayer hands. We're here for a little over 2 minutes. It's significant. So it's important that you recognize that specificity of landing into something, and by landing into it, you receive it. Less is more. Try not to be afraid of the quiet, not only the quiet, the more notable quiet, but also the quiet of our body. It gives you a chance to hear things a little more clearly. And you can take big breaths in and out. And through the exhale, just kind of capture a little bit more of that back body landing onto your prop. Almost to the point of encasing it a bit. Take a big inhale. When you get to the top of the rise of the belly and chest, hold your breath for 5, 4, 3, 2, and then open your mouth. It could be that your hands help your knees close like a book, or just slightly kind of encourage that to come back up. Soles of the feet onto the mat and then legs long. And take one of your hands, put it behind your head, and help your head up. Your chin will be higher than your chest. And then you'll tug your belly in to keep your head up so that you can press your paws, both your hands down onto your mat and sit up. Remove your stacks. Make your way back to lying down to a neutral spine. It's never completely flat, but just a little bit of landing here into corpse pose so that you can rejig everything back to neutral. Take another breath in and out through the nose. And from corpse pose, you're going to sit back up. And you're going to get your next stack, block, or rolled up towel ready. It's going to be at the lowest height if you're using a block, and it's going to aim to go horizontally across the midsection of your body. I'm using a little heating towel here or pad, so I'm going to put it on top of my block to make it extra delicious. But as you lie back, it's going to thrust your ribs more up towards the sky. So in effect, it's kind of like a sweet rib opener. Your butt should be on the ground fully. There should be no lift from your lower spine or butt. And then as you lie back, there's this kind of thrust of your ribs in the midsection of you opening up. You should be able to touch your head down. Step your feet a little wider and rest your big toes open to the sides of your mat. Some people find this super confronting, which I totally understand. We're not really used to opening this part of our body here. But hopefully, as you get into it and you feel the ribs expand wider, and you feel the heart of the ribs just really open up, and the midsection of your spine get a little opening there, there's usually a sense pretty early as to how good it kind of feels as well. If you're struggling with comfort of the stack underneath you, sometimes moving it a little up or down is a trick. And I mean by a half an inch or an inch. And then rest in. We're here about 2 minutes. Part of surrendering into any pose, but particularly in our yin practice, is just noticing the parts of our body that aren't front and center or necessarily involved in the pose. So we know that our back body and our ribs and even our hips are directly being affected, but could you note the expression on your face without seeing it? Could you feel for your cheeks and your jaw and your eyes, even with a slight little part of the lips letting go? Take another deep breath in, get to the top. Hold for 5, 4, 2, and 1 to let go. You could walk your legs a little closer together, that might help. And then you'll put your hand behind your head and help your head up. Your head's a little higher than your heart. And then you'll feel the charge of your belly. That charge is going to turn on more as you release the hand from your head. And then use your hands and your forearms to get up to a sit. remove your stack from underneath you, behind you, and then lie back down. And so we've started to take a little walk down the spine. And our jobs here are just to receive. You can note any changes or shifts. It may be as simple but as significant as more space. Do you feel a little longer? You're going to step the soles of your feet down onto the mat so your knees look up. And we're going to continue our walk down our spine. As you press into the feet, you're going to lift your butt off the floor and slip your prop, your stack, right underneath your sacrum, just above your bum cheeks. The sacrum being that really big base bone at the base of your spine. It's usually directly behind your pelvic floor area, your hip crease area. As you feel the kind of thrust up of your hip crease and your pelvic floor, you can engage in that a little more by lengthening your legs and resting pretty heavy your heels onto your mat. As you ground a little more through your upper back body right into your neck, you can practice a little bit of a neck stretch here as well. I call it pie in your face. So if somebody was going to hit you with a pie in your face, your chin would slide directly back, almost like it's tucking a bit, to anchor your neck onto the floor. And that might offer you a little stretch up through the cervical spine. You can practice that little tuck of the chin, pie in your face, maybe for 2 seconds, release, repeat. And if you do the pie in your face and that little stretch, maybe do it 3 to 4 times. And then allow yourself to soften in a more surrender-like state. If you feel a decent amount of space has opened across your hip creases and with your pelvic floor being a little more generously wide, you might be able to see for a next step. If you're going to the next step, you need to bend the legs to step the soles of the feet onto the mat to go into a deeper sensation or stretch. If you're working with rolled up towels, you could take a second towel and stack it on top of the towel underneath. Or if you're working with a stack or prop, you could change the height of it as you press into your feet. Thrust your hips up so that you create space to change the height of what's underneath you. Essentially lifting your hips, your butt a little higher. Many people will feel generously open here. If that's you, you could lengthen the legs same way you did before. Heels of your feet resting onto the mat heavy. So you don't want to feel a fight for resting your heels. If this is plenty of sensation for you, keep your legs bent, soles of the feet on the mat. We're not here to win yoga. We're here to be true to our bodies and our breath. And so there's no need to get long legs in this pose unless it's very true to the flexibility of your body. Don't do it and then be in pain and not be able to breathe. A few more breaths. Perhaps diving into more attentiveness into the expression of your face, allowing that to be restful and at ease. As you ride the belly up high and the chest to follow on an inhale, hold when you get to the top. And then exhale and get to the bottom. And then hold on empty. So at the bottom of this exhale, hold. And then inhale again, breathe that in. And exhale. Just press into the feet a little bit. You're going to lift your butt up, sneak your prop out from underneath you. Put your bum down slow. You're going to try and bring your props, if you can reach, to the right side of your mat. And then I want you to roll on to the right side of your body for fetal position. Whatever feels comfortable here is where you want to be. Pay attention to your back body being open to space and maybe just breathing into that. We call this sideline shavasana in yoga terms. But of course we know this is the fetal position. Either or, however you call it, whatever you name it, it can be a really restful, nurturing pose. You hug your knees up towards your hips. And on your next breath in, as you walk your right shoulder more onto the ground to look your gaze up to the sky, you're going to twist your torso open. And as you do that, you're trying to put your left shoulder blade onto the ground or pretty close. That might mean that your top leg in the fetal position lifts quite a bit, which is where you'll need your stacks, your blocks, your big rolled up towels to put in between your thighs so that there's no effort. There's no tendency to push your knee down from lifting up. Just support all the places that need supporting. And then enjoy the benefits of the twist, where we mostly aim to get our upper back body onto the mat, both shoulder blades onto our mat. It's okay to find a perfect fit and shift a bit at the onset of the pose. We want to do that as much as necessary so that we can still our bodies. We're here for a little bit of time. Can we make sure that we've got the right fit so we can be still? The nature of twist and these poses that involve twist in our practice, they bring a certain kind of mindfulness and awareness to our breath. For the last little bit of time, it may be the case, if you're not already there, to look over your opposite shoulder, which would be our left shoulder, to bring the line of the twist and energy of that twist a little deeper, maybe more complete. And offer yourself one more breath. Perhaps you play with a little bit of hold at the top. It'll feel different in a twisted pose. And then you'll let go slow if you chose to hold. To come out of the pose, if you're looking over your shoulder, place your head at neutral so it's looking up to the sky. And then slowly start to rock the head towards the right and bring your left arm and shoulder with you and roll back into the fetal position on your right side. You can remove your prop, your stack from in between your legs if it's there to help, and land in fetal position with a breath or two. Come onto your back body from this. Take a bit of this corpse pose moment to reset. And as you do that, you can bring your props with you towards your left side. And then you're going to roll over to your left side body, the fetal position. Curl up with your knees closer towards your hips, meaning that your knees are somewhat high up. Maybe the case that from side to side you want a bit of support with your props underneath your head. Or you may just be fine in the fetal position with your head onto your mat. And with your knees a little higher rather than lower, as you inhale, you're rolling your torso and right shoulder open to the sky as you walk your left shoulder blade more onto the mat and to the left. You open your heart up to the sky for that twist and try and place your right shoulder blade onto the ground. Usually that walk of the shoulder blades being grounded onto your mat for your twists means that your top leg, and in this case your right leg, lifts. And instead of pressing that knee or thigh down with one of your hands, get out of any effort and put a stack, a rolled up towel, whatever it may be, your prop in between your thighs. Trust the process of surrendering to the pose, not muscling in. as you settle into the sweetness of time affording you the possibility of more of this pose, of almost becoming this pose, fully letting it in. And so you might go into a deeper expression of it if you aren't already there, where you roll your head like a bowling ball and look over towards the right shoulder, so that you just almost endeavor to complete the journey of this twist. A couple more breaths. Breaths that might feel a little bit different than a pose that isn't a twist, right? The mindfulness, the awareness around our breath can't help but be challenged a little more when we are twisting our bodies. And there's nothing to do, but there's a whole lot to witness. Be playful and curious as you inhale and exhale. Perhaps on your last breath, you fill up to that very top again and you hold. And you'll let go and you'll feel that release. And at the bottom of that exhale, before you move your body per se, just roll your head slow and steady to center if it isn't already there. And then as you start to look towards the left shoulder, bring your right shoulder with you to roll back into the fetal position. You can release any stacks, if you have them, from in between your legs. And after a breath or maybe two, just rolling back onto your back body. And coming back to as close as what is neutral, as close as we can get to a neutral expression of our spine. From this place on your spine, again, we might visit a little bit of that neck stretch. So as you imagine a pie in your face with your gaze at neutral, straight up to the sky, it forces your chin to kind of slide back so that you can press the back of your neck almost if not onto the ground, with a little pull into the upper back. Breathe in and out. Release any kind of slide of the chin back and a release of that pie in your face movement. Take your time, yogis. We're going to roll over into child's pose, trying to keep ourselves as low to the ground as possible so that we enjoy a restful way in. Child's pose can have your knees a little less wide. If you're capable of knees touching together, that's really nice for the spine to encounter stretch and rounding. If you can't get them quite touching one another, just maybe fist width distance between the knees. So the child's pose is less about the hips in this and more about the lower spine and the rounding in the spine and the space of the vertebrae. Take one more inhale. And one last exhale here. Frame your hands on either side of your head. Press into a kind of tabletop. Take yourself into a down dog stretch. It can be super generous and soft. So unlike our yang practice or vinyasa, you don't have to fight your legs straight or get it exact. Just make it sweet. And then walk your feet towards your hands, but not all the way, so that your toes are kind of underneath your ribs or hip creases. If your props are blocks, you could stand them up where your hands were to put your hands on top of the props. If they're rolled up towels, you want to maybe try and stack your towels so that your hands could reach and then be in your fold. Shift a little bit of weight to the fronts of the feet. Micro bend the knees, not too much. And then bow your heart closer to your thighs and knees and hang your head heavy. You could dangle your arms. You could reach for opposite elbows to pull into the upper back a little more. Your feet could be a little wider apart if you're struggling with a balancing act here. And yes, there's a stretch in the hamstrings. But if you microbend your legs enough, you might take a little bit of sensation out of that. Not so much that you're in a chair pose, nothing like that, just to give you space. And if you give your legs any kind of space, you can focus on the back body and the head hanging heavy and the neck opening up with a gentle pull from the head hanging heavy. And as your back body opens up and the vertebrae get more space between them, the practice of breath into those pockets of space, that's where the life comes in. Each exhale being as grand, even as audible as it needs to be, so that it partners with the relief of this pose. Five more breaths. Resisting the urge to lift the head or hold her up. Let everything go. Take a big, big breath in. Get to the top of that breath. Hold it for a beat. And then we'll let it go, guys. Let it go. Your hands might already be on stacks or props. But if they aren't, try and base your hands onto some sort of prop for support. And use that prop to kind of halfway lift a little bit. Heel toe your feet a little wider, toe heel a little wider. Probably mat width distance, and then look the toes out so the heels can look inward. And then just kind of shift your bum or wag your tail a little right to left as you bend your legs. You keep bending and eventually sitting into Malasana squat. From Malasana squat, you can walk your hands or your props and hands back behind you, helping to get you onto your butt to sit, and then extend your legs long out in front of you. Release your props. Get anything that makes things cozy for you, whether it's a heated pad like me, a blanket to cover up your eyes, or even your body. And then lie down. Final pose, guys. Ultimate pose. On the heels of a big time yin-like forward fold, we call that dangling pose, the one we were just in, that forward fold. On the heels of that, this corpse pose should feel like a bit of justice. So get your justice here. There's no expiry date on this Shavasana. No, really, there isn't. Be still, be sweet, be Shavasana, and enjoy. Sweet dreams. Thanks for joining. Namaste.